That Mexican shaman didn't merely mention your existence to them. He spelled out precisely who they were poking at when they made the choice to target you. The expression taking over his face when he spoke wasn't driven by fear. It was pure recognition. It was the rare kind of realization that happens when someone spends a lifetime waiting to finally behold something they've only ever heard whispered about during sacred rituals most people don't even know exist. You really need to grasp what unfolded down in that tiny village right outside Oaxaca, where the mountain peaks fold over each other like hands joined in prayer, and the surrounding air carries the rich scent of burning coal and fresh rain hitting dry soil. They sought him out. These figures who have been keeping tabs on you from the darkness, tracking where you go and piecing together bits of your story like a messy jigsaw puzzle they couldn't quite force into place, asked him to reveal your true identity. They came in expecting him to validate their existing suspicions, that you were simply a thorn in their side, a threat they needed to neutralize, or perhaps just a bit more trouble than they originally bargained for when you first caught their attention. Instead, the answer he gave them chilled them to the bone. It was a deeply unsettling kind of cold, the type of chill that settles in your marrow and slowly bleeds outward until your own fingers start feeling completely detached from your body. He informed them that you didn't just happen to stumble into your power by sheer luck. He made it clear that your strength wasn't just born out of surviving hard times or learning to fight back out of sheer necessity. He warned them that they were up against an ancient force, something that was already moving through the world long before their little plots were ever conceived, long before they even existed in their present roles. He told them you carry a presence that most human beings will never experience across their entire lives. The sole reason you are still standing here today, breathing, enduring, and outlasting every single hit they throw your way, is that a presence far greater than them and vastly superior to their petty power games has been guarding you since before you were even old enough to form memories. This was the exact detail that truly unsettled them, and honestly, it shook me as well. It's the very revelation that kept the shaman's words ringing in their ears for weeks afterward. He declared that you possess an inner light that simply cannot be put out. Every time they try to dim your glow, your fire only blazes hotter. And every single time they try to bury you under, you rise right back up with vastly greater power than before. They are completely lost on how to handle you because they had never come across anyone remotely like you. I don't throw those words around lightly. I realize people use that line far too often. I've never seen anyone like you before. People repeat it all the time. But in your case, it happens to be the absolute truth. They've dealt with influential individuals in the past. They've got your toe-to-toe with people who put up a fight, people who resisted and made their lives miserable for a brief moment, before ultimately getting crushed by the immense weight of their machine. You, however, are cut from a totally different cloth. You aren't pushing back against them out of simple stubbornness or a need to prove your point. You are resisting them simply because your nature leaves you no other choice. It isn't a strategy you mapped out. It's not a decision you reached after weighing all your options. It is fundamentally who you are. Resisting is as natural to you as taking your next breath. You navigate through life, and people pick up on your presence even when they can't quite articulate it. They sense this underlying hum, a steady frequency that doesn't quite blend in with the rest of the world around it. Because of this, certain people are naturally drawn to you, while others feel an overwhelming urge to pull away. The ones who recoil are precisely the individuals holding on to dirty secrets, terrified of having their darkness exposed to the natural light you radiate without even trying. You never have to announce your arrival for them to know you're in the building. They can feel you getting closer, and the higher up they are in power, the stronger that feeling hits them. There is a very real reason why they've been prying into your past. There's a reason they've actually paid out money to people, just to dig up dirt and track your life. It's the same reason they've been consulting spiritual practitioners, psychics, and anyone else who might offer them a secret formula for neutralizing someone like you. They are downright terrified, experiencing a deep fear they've never had to face before. Not on this level. Not like this. You know that exact feeling when you walk into a crowded room and the whole energy shifts, when everyone's eyes land on you before you've even had a chance to say or do a single thing. When a sudden eerie quiet sweeps across the space, as if everyone is simultaneously trying to figure out what just changed. That isn't just in your head. It isn't paranoia, overthinking, or any of the rationalizations you've used over the years to brush it off. That is simply people instinctively registering what you are, long before their logical minds can make sense of it. Those who can't process it will frequently lash out with hostility or awkwardness, because human beings generally struggle to deal with anything they can't easily put in a box. But those who do understand it, the ones who have spent their lives studying the hidden dynamics of the world, react in a completely different manner. They respond with deep recognition. They react with a reverence that looks a whole lot like pure awe, and at times, a look that resembles utter terror. Regardless of their reaction, they aren't confused for a second about who is standing right in front of them. So when I share that a shaman in Mexico explicitly named you a walking prophecy, I'm not just handing you a dramatic line or trying to sound poetic. I am telling you that a spiritual elder who has dedicated his entire life to reading the deeper currents of reality took one look at your energy and recognized something he had only ever seen referenced in ancient texts. A soul like yours. A presence that is only ever spoken about in hushed, respectful tones during closed-door ceremonies far away from curious eyes. He saw someone who was chosen, not in the mundane way people get picked for everyday roles, but in the rare sense of being selected to stand in the gap between dimensions, holding space for realities most people can't even fathom. You were brought here for a very intentional mission. Your birth was no mere cosmic accident. You didn't just accidentally survive every plot that was meant to wipe you out. You didn't just randomly develop this sharp intuition that allows you to see right through people's fake fronts and spot underlying danger, even when everything looks completely fine on the surface. Every bit of that was deliberate conditioning for a path you haven't even fully stepped onto yet. This part of the story hits directly home. I want you to take a slow, deep breath with me right now. I need you to really sit with what I'm about to say next, and see if it strikes a resonant chord deep inside your chest. Have you ever paid attention to what happens to the people who tried the hardest to tear you down? The ones who truly tried to destroy your life? have consistently ended up in a far worse position than you. Not just slightly worse off, but suffering complete and total devastation. Have you noticed how every time someone set out to sabotage you, the whole plot inexplicably blew up right in their faces in ways you never planned and could have never orchestrated yourself? That isn't luck. It isn't random coincidence. That is a persistent dynamic that has played out repeatedly throughout your whole life. And it's not simply because you were smarter or more calculating than all the people plotting against you, even though you possess those qualities too. It happens because a powerful shield surrounds you, one that doesn't rely on anything you actively do. It originates directly from the source itself, from the very power that dispatched you into this reality in the first place. It has been protecting you from every threat that was never authorized to touch you. They tried to break your spirit when you were just a child. They did everything to make you feel tiny, worthless, and convinced that your presence didn't matter at all. They worked to persuade you that you were overly emotional, too intense, and simply too heavy for normal people to handle. And for a long time, you bought into their narrative. You accepted it back then because you lacked the perspective to know any better. You didn't have the awareness yet to realize that your deep sensitivity was never a flaw. You couldn't see that your intensity was actually a clear indicator of the immense power moving through you. You were never too much. They were simply far too small to handle the raw truth your spirit carried. Those individuals, the ones who made you feel small and tried to dim your shine, were doing far more than just being cruel. They were actively trying to suppress a power they subconsciously recognized as a direct threat to their comfortable routines, their control, and the carefully crafted illusions they built about themselves and their place in the world. They could feel that you saw right through their disguises, even before you were fully aware of it yourself. And the terrifying prospect of being truly exposed pushed them over the edge. That leads directly into the core revelation that is about to fundamentally shift your perspective. So I want your complete focus here. The shaman made it clear to them that your life isn't just about simple survival. You aren't here just to coast through existence while minimizing your personal damage. You are here to expose what has been buried, tearing through the deceptions that have kept people trapped in endless loops of heartbreak, confusion, and blatant deceit. Exposing those lies is the actual prophecy at play. It's not about achieving some future status that brings you worldly fame, massive wealth, or traditional power in the way society usually defines those things. It means you are assigned to be a living vessel of truth. You are meant to step into spaces where people have been deceiving themselves and others, quietly and without any dramatic display, exposing the reality that has been hiding right under their noses all along. You accomplish this without putting in consciously orchestrated effort. You do it simply by occupying the space, by asking the precise questions, the exact ones nobody else ever had the guts or insight to ask. You do it by flatly refusing to buy into the surface-level excuses everyone else has been trained to swallow without question. They complained to him about how you kept sabotaging their agendas without even realizing they had an agenda running. They explained how every construct they tried to build that ran counter to the greater good kept crumbling to pieces, and how you somehow always happened to be standing right there, Whenever it all came crashing down, they recounted how you possess an uncanny ability to read right through people and catch deceit, no matter how skilled they are at concealing it, and how that innate gift of yours has cost them far more than they care to admit. And that elder simply listened to their story and nodded along, eventually, with that deep, unshakable composure found only in those who have seen too much of the spirit realm to ever be shocked by anything. He told them straight out that they were fighting a completely unwinnable war. He warned them that they should have left you completely alone. He told them they ought to have let you walk your path in peace, because by choosing to confront you directly and making themselves your open enemies, they accidentally unlocked a dormant force within you. Now you are no longer just carrying that spiritual power passively. You are becoming fully conscious of it, and that changes the entire dynamic. What they completely failed to grasp, and what the shaman attempted to teach them, though it clearly went over their heads, is that the authority operating through you isn't a weapon you swing around. It is an energy you embody as a clean vessel. You don't direct it to attack people. It simply flows through your life and accomplishes whatever needs to be done. And often what it needs to accomplish is dragging someone's secret corruption into the light, or tearing down abusive structures that have harmed people for far too long. You never have to resort to dirty tactics or petty revenge. You don't need to waste time planning elaborate paybacks or plotting how to get even with those who hurt you. Your only job is to keep putting one foot in front of the other on your designated path. Stay completely grounded in your core truth, and let that higher power handle the heavy lifting. It will guard you. It will smooth out your path. It will deal with everyone trying to block your progress, handling them in ways that leave zero doubt about who was truly running the show. Here is the ultimate takeaway, the exact truth they desperately tried to avoid. They are powerless to stop your rise. They have thrown everything in their arsenal at you. They tried using their leverage to shut doors on your opportunities. They tried deploying their social networks to turn people against your character. They dumped their financial resources into tracking your every move, trying to stay 3 steps ahead of your life. They even resorted to dark spiritual practices that ordinary people don't even realize exist. Esoteric workings specifically designed to bind a person's light and leave them powerless. And not a single tactic worked. Every time they attempted to trap your spirit, the binding ricocheted right back onto them. Every single time they tried to project harm your way, that energy returned directly to its sender with compounded interest. They are completely baffled as to why, because they fail to realize you are operating from a spiritual authority that completely transcends the realm they are trying to fight in. It isn't just that you are tougher than them. It's that you aren't even playing by their rules. You are operating from a higher dimensional plane, and the earthbound tactics they rely on simply have no effect on you anymore. Reflect on what it actually required for you to reach this stage. Consider everything you've outlasted, every trial you've conquered, and every attachment you've had to drop to step into the person you are today. You didn't land here by pure coincidence. You didn't survive because you got lucky, or because your enemies just happened to execute a series of foolish blunders. You made it here because there is a core inside of you that absolutely refuses to be extinguished, refuses to be broken, and refuses to quit. Even when throwing in the towel seemed like the easiest way out, you kept going because the higher power within you recognized it had a sacred mission to complete, and it was never going to let you abandon ship before the work was finished. You arrived at this point because you were explicitly engineered to be here, not just to exist, but to fulfill a destiny mapped out for you long before you ever took your first breath. I want to revisit what that shaman said for a moment, because his next statement holds the real key. He looked them straight in the face and said, "You have no idea who you are dealing with. This isn't a target you can manipulate, intimidate, or destroy. This is a soul who has already walked through hell and emerged carrying even more light than before. This is someone who has met their own dark night of the soul and integrated it fully. They know their exact capabilities, and they know precisely what lines they will never cross. This is a person who wears the truth right in their scars, and that unyielding truth is the one thing capable of dismantling every lie you've built." They were completely floored. They were utterly speechless because in all their years of seeking his counsel and asking about their various rivals, they had never heard him speak about a single person in that tone. He had never once described anyone the way he described you. And there is a profound reason for that. There is a clear reason why a spiritual elder who has seen things most people couldn't even process reacted to your name in such an intense way. It's because you aren't just an influential person. You are a rare individual who has been awakened in a way that only occurs once in a generation. Perhaps